diehard fans. I had 140 of them pay for an album that got me about $4,000 in 2 weeks. That's the equivalent of 1.1 million streams, by the way. If 140 people can account for that, what you think 300 people can do? 300 diehards. When I sold tickets after doing a show in my living room and I saw that, I said, oh, no, no. There's no going back. I do, however, stand very strongly on my stance that I do believe that the future of music for artists that are looking to at least make a business out of this, even if it's just to support yourself on minimum wage, is direct to consumer. I think the writing's on the wall when you look at the companies that you use that are going direct to consumer. I mean, you could even make an argument how Netflix Originals is a direct to consumer product, right? Let's strike a deal with the director. And instead of going through these different movie companies, we'll just produce it ourselves. We'll give you the budget. We'll do all of this stuff and we'll make it a Netflix original.
P.S. As an entertainment attorney, we represent and work with film distributors. So there's the music distributors, and then there's the film distributors, and then there's the filmmakers.
So it's, once again, getting back to that whole middleman conversation. And if that's the direction that the big dogs are going, I only say big dogs because of the amount of money that they're making, what's separating us from that? I do feel that, people don't have to go to the extreme that I went to. I went to the extreme where I removed all my music from streaming. The moment I started to see the threshold thing go up, I said, oh no, this is going in the Spotify threshold that they set for 1,000 streams annually. When I saw that, I said, the writing is on the wall. This is going entirely in the wrong direction, because a lot of us, when streaming came into play, I remember that time period. Even though I wasn't making music, I remember the concern that artists were expressing, right? The Metallicas. And I remember as a kid seeing this about how this is going to change the music industry for the bad. And I remember now seeing like the documentaries that talk about how the labels were panicking and everything was such a panic about the fear of people pirating. Now, fast forward 20 years into now, like, people have not stopped pirating, but folks have figured out other business models in other industries. Specifically, I like to bring up the DAW industry, right? The FL Studios, the Abletons, and they all kind of figure out a different way to go about it, but they figured out ways to turn a profit in what they're doing, even in light of the pirators, right? And so I think that a lot of decisions were made at that time. Shout out to Steve Jobs, who ultimately came up with a decision that ended up being the majority of this model. But it hasn't shifted over 20 years, even though the economy has shifted dramatically in the last 20 years. Inflation? Nah, that's all we got for your music. like any industry would not be able to sustain off of that as the business model not shifting over 20 years. So I feel that now what this is a sign of is, yes, that's awesome that Congress is going after that penny. If you're an artist that takes this serious as your business, do not rely upon that being the saving grace for you. That is, once again, another outlet, another platform to hopefully profit within. But in looking at these Ben Jordan videos and seeing how many artists are not actually profiting even after they've paid their annual subscription to these distributors, I just don't understand the math anymore.
So you suggest we eliminate the middleman and we level the playing field by saying, go to our website and we'll sell directly. And I'll even plant this. So this seat, I represented this client who was a pretty successful independent artist. I define success as far as just doing your own thing, making your own money, growing your fan base, touring. I mean, you're fully in control of everything. We were chatting about a new management agreement that had been offered and said, this person wants to take this percentage. I'm like, all right, great. Like, I'm looking at the contract, setting aside the contract. What's this person going to do for you? Right? What do they bring to the table? What's their Rolodex? What are they offering? And I was told that, it's like, this person's going to help me get my registrations on the PROs, right? BMI or ASCAP, and help me get my stuff on Sound Exchange, and just talking about essentially admin work. And I go, okay, I'm down. Here's what we're going to do to renegotiate this. I go, however, have you ever just considered, if you're making money from your music career, you hire someone and you pay them a minimal hourly to go and do this stuff for you? Because that's like 5 hours of work. Why are you giving away 20% of your gross income for however long this contract is? And this person, just a light bulb went off, like, just had never even considered that you can just hire someone. People don't have to come in and get a piece of what you're doing. So back to what you're saying with this anti-streaming kind of movement that you're creating.
To be clear, I want to make sure I do say this. Like, I'm not anti-streaming. I'm pro independence. I'm pro
direct to consumer.
direct to consumer. So like anti-streaming, like I still look and I understand that there are some people who have figured out how to flip this system and make a profit at what they're doing. It.
Yeah.
God bless them, right? They've played the game. They understand the algorithm. That's cool. But to me, I left streaming not because of just my own business. I didn't think that 1,000 annual stream mark is not going to be hard to get to. It's just that I don't believe that that is the proper business model for Curtis King's music. And I had to ask a lot of the same questions you asked your client. And I think that's an eye-opening thing as well, is how many artists either don't want to do the work, haven't thought about what the work actually is, and then at the same time have the nerve to be terrified of utilizing any tools from AI to help this process. It's like we're living in a time where even if you don't have the budget to hire these folks to be freelancers and support the admin, I sit up and have conversations with Chat GPT to crunch percentages for who is owed what on my albums. And I do that once a month. Look, shout out to a supremely successful independent artist from out here, LaRussell. You know, I had an opportunity to interview him and spend some time with him at a show in San Diego. And he told me at least once a month, he dedicates the entire day to just admin work. He said he'd get on his laptop, put on his favorite movies, and he just does admin work. So it's like when you see it as that, you realize this is no different from the dad who had a passion for, let's say, making pizzas at home, right? He opens his own pizza shop locally, right? And he got pizza and beer and all of this. People are supporting it. At least once a month, somebody's got to do inventory. That's part of the doing a business. I know it's not the sexiest part, but when you're able to look at it from a different lens of, I don't want to have to do this too, I get to do this so I can ensure that I continue to do this. I think it changes everything. That's part of running a business. Like you don't want to, first of all, I wouldn't want to give that responsibility to someone and it means that much to my bottom line. I would not want to give that to someone who has no connection or passion towards the work without understanding how to set up a system first for them to follow.
Or what we normally hear is artists will hand off that important job and they are successful and the music manager ends up handling the books and all the money disappears. Like there's terrible things that can happen when you're not paying attention. Brandman, I went on his show recently and I use this analogy. I go, everything I teach is about you just learning how the music business works and you becoming your own music business. And I use the, record labels, like just become your own record label, learn to think like one so you can sell your stuff, make money, because that's what's missing here. So I go in the analogy that I gave Brandman, I go, if, you and me go and we start a cupcake business and, we're like, we have to figure stuff out. Where are we going to do it? Like, where's our store? What goes on the windows? What kind of cupcakes are we doing? Is it Halloween? Are we going to do fun cupcakes? I go, these are things when you literally don't think about it and you're like, I'm just going to do this thing. Don't be surprised when stuff doesn't happen and you're not getting the customers and you're not getting the sales. And so, back to you and the direct to consumer, you go, by forcing yourself to directly have to connect with the fans and sell to the fans and help the fans and all that. You're thinking about this stuff and you're having little chats with, ChatGPT to work the numbers.
Big chats.
Important chats.
Well, I realized too that I was playing the wrong game and I was in the wrong business. I was in what I call, instead of DTC, I call it 3CC. I was in the content, comments, and clout business. And none of that equaled out to the bottom line of what I needed to run a successful music business. When I recognized how many of the decisions I was making, like, why am I putting out so much content? I'm really doing this for feedback, content, and clout. And then I'm hoping that I've created some kind of, at some point, this is before I knew better, I'm hoping that I created a funnel good enough for them to go visit what I'm doing. And it's like, it's not a sustainable business model for any business. So when I realized, so much of direct-to-consumer success is very silent. I share screenshots of my sales because there's not many things that are sexy about the kind of business I do. The sexiest part is the music. But that's why I chose to be in the music business, because that doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me to be like, man, but like my peers are getting this amount of streams and I'm gonna be looked at as not serious and people can't access it from this. And I'm like, the kind of people who would say that, and this is going to get to the conversation entirely, but the kind of people who say that are not designed to become super fans of Curtis King.
Hmm.
Those kind of people are going to be finicky about my music, the next person's music, and that's just their existence, and that's fine. The people who become super fans account for more than $100 a year in investing with me. It's gonna be more than just the music. The music is the gateway towards it, but they're gonna buy merch, they're gonna buy tickets. When I sold tickets after doing a show in my living room and I saw that, I said, oh no, no, there's no going back. So I think there's also a disease of more that a lot of artists and producers suffer from. I was one of those where you're so concerned about how am I going to reach new fans? How am I going to get to new people? How am I going to you haven't figured out how to maximize what you already have because you're too concerned about it looking embarrassing that you got 50 plays on your song. You're too embarrassed about the 4 comments you got on your Instagram. You ain't even respond to any of those. What makes you think you can handle 40?
That's
You
right.
getting overwhelmed by 4. So when I understood that part, I was like, I don't have to be. Matter of fact, I don't even define success anymore as being loud, right? That's not success for me. Success for me is to be able to look at my numbers and realize, oh, we are in the green. Or even beyond that, you know what? I have given myself an opportunity to play this game another month, play it another month, play another year. Like that to me is continuous success that I can build off of. And then seeing it start to go in the other direction, man, that gets me so excited to where it's like I can explain that to the general public, and most folks are gonna be like, so what? Like, okay, you've been doing this long enough, you should. I look at that and say, you don't realize how many times these ideas have been shot down, how many times I've been blackballed from situations, how many times people have tried to make sure that I never exist in a space like this, how many times, even when I did make common sense decisions for myself, I got crucified in this space. I'm grateful that I get to play this game. I'm grateful that I have the support of my family and that I'm able to support my family through doing this. And to me, that is the ultimate win. If I leave this career with 300 diehard fans, I had 140 of them in December pay for an album that got me about $4,000 in 2 weeks. That's the equivalent of 1.1 million streams, by the way. If 140 people can account for that, what you think 300 people can do? 300 diehards. So I'm still on social media. I'm still utilizing all these platforms that expose me to new people, but I'm not so obsessed with the new shiny people that I neglect the people who have already opted in, who have already said, I'm riding with you. I'm a DIYer to the end.
Top Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com. And I love with you just looking at this as a business, numbers speak. Numbers speak louder than anything else. And so you will look at this again in 6 months, in a year, and you'll continue to evaluate what makes the most sense. Because let's pretend the Living Wage for Musicians Act gets approved. And let's even speculate, right? That means at a minimum, there's more money being paid. And I can at least say, well, what's really going to change? I think at a minimum, right? When Spotify put in their free tier, I think that was around 2013. So I think at a minimum with like DSPs, the free tiers will go away.
Oh, yeah,
if they're having to actually pay more money, that's number one.
Yeah.
Putting more money in artists' pockets, that's great. But even, for Curtis King, maybe the plan changes at some point. And I don't think you would ever put yourself in a box and you go, this is the only way, this is how it has to be. You seem to be adapting and reacting to what's going on. And you're not just blindly going forward.
I've been off of streaming since October, November of 2023. Even now, it's not even a matter of me thinking about going back there. I'm looking at it like, let's reevaluate this. Let's look at, I'm in March now. I took all of March from social media just to evaluate what has worked, what hasn't worked, what has fell flat, whatever. And I start thinking there are people in my diehard fan base and my folks who are supporters who say, man, I really wish I could add this to my Instagram stories or my TikToks. So then I started to say, okay, what would be the pros and cons of me just distributing to Instagram or to TikTok?
Right.
And these are the kind of decisions that I'm like, yeah, it may be inconveniencing for other people because like, I don't want to have to do, you don't have to do that. This is the decision that Curtis King feels the necessity to do. And because I've gone the other side, I can now come to you with actual evidence of what I'm not theorizing. Oh my God, I go to my YouTube comments. It's theories every single day about what consumers want and won't do. And I don't see these people with actual consumers to test that on. So my thing is, I'm testing this in real time and I'm looking and saying, okay, Should we sway this? My thing is this though, too. Bigger picture conversation beyond just the streaming payouts. To me, this is a defense of art in general, of what the value of art is. Doing what streaming did to many folks. I mean, James Blake talks about this, the kind of brainwashing that people have gone under to where they actually believe music itself, the art form of music itself, is not worth much money. Mm-hmm. How can that be when people are paying $400 for Rolling Loud tickets? How can that be when sync opportunities are opening up all the time that are centered around your product of music? How can that be when you can't go to a bar without hearing music being played in the background? You get in an elevator, music, it must be supremely valuable to someone, because it's not like it just disappeared from society. So I think that the reason that has gone that direction is because those who ultimately make the money off of it now don't have the same, it's a very generalized statement, but don't have the same love and connection to the craft that we as the ones who create the music have. And I judge that just based upon, I understand business, I understand, wanting to get the numbers right, but that's not the way you treat art. So my thing is this: run it up to a penny. That sounds great. Does that take away from the direct-to-consumer business that I continue to build? Am I now saying Spotify's paying a penny? You know what? Let me now take all that energy that I did creating content, all that energy that I did to rile up the troops, and share Spotify links for the rest of my career.
Right.
When I have CurtisKing.com, when I'm currently building an app that is going to house all my music that you're going to be able to purchase and listen to just like any other of these platforms, right? Like what am I ultimately doing, and where's this going? I think, last thing I'll say, I think that in general, everyone's goal, even when you go into the traditional industry, should ultimately be to take the advantages of what you have and create something that is really independent, to break away from the system. I would think, if you want to build a business in this. But what I'm realizing is that there are people who would rather look like independence than actually go through than actually do the work of independence. And that's where someone like me doesn't make a whole lot of sense as a business model to people, because what I'm talking about doing is hard work. This is not easy. What I'm talking about doing is not popular in this time period right now. And I'm fully aware of how crazy this sounds to some people, but I feel crazier not even doing it when I know better. But I see the numbers and they don't make sense. So in the love of art and the love of what we do, I won't let them compete with my music by giving them my music willingly and saying, yeah, you can come support me over here for $10, but I'm gonna let you get it over there for a penny. Nah, that's not the people I'm looking for.
All right. So in that spirit, we're going to make sure we go to CurtisKing.com. We make sure that a minimum of 300 is on your next record. And then also, where else can the people find you?
CurtisKing.com, CurtisKing.com, CurtisKing.com. But Curtis King TV is definitely a good place to pivot to for the kind of content that I create. Curtis King Music is the YouTube that I just started a few months ago to house any of my music projects. But Curtis King TV, I think, is a good place if you're just someone who's a casual, an onlooker, and you're just, curious. CurtisKing.com is a good place to go to.
Any final words for the independence, whatever definition someone is going by at this point? Any final words for someone who is looking to continue growing and maybe feels lost? I think that's a common feeling, just like, what do I do next? I've been working so hard.
I got a perfect comment. And it's funny because I saw someone had left a comment in the first content that you shared with me and you in it. I'm not going to address them directly in that because they know who they are. But I think we forget sometimes as we get on this YouTube and we're entertained by the content that we see, we're entertained by being able to have barbershop talk in the comments. We forget that time is passing us by. And you cannot forget, as much as it's fun to go to the game and eat popcorn and be in the stands and cheer on your favorite team, you also have a product. You also have a career that is passing you by. And so from anybody who is so obsessed with Curtis did this because of this, and he's only I'm like, I'm living out my chapters. I'm living out my chapters in real time. And it won't age well. Critics don't get statues. Critics don't get statues for a reason. So I say this, for anybody that's discouraged, you probably need to put the blinders on for a second. because you've overconsumed. You know way too much about other people's careers and you haven't invested enough into yours. Because if you had business to tend to, I wouldn't be a part of your business. So, or they wouldn't be a part of your business. Focus in, lock in. Right now is a time to go. And if you can find your silent success, fam, you don't have to figure out what's going to work for every independent alive. You found yours, build on that, and you already won the game.
I want to make sure to thank those in my community who wanted Curtis King on the show and have tagged
Much
him,
love.
which brought us together. I want to thank everyone in Curtis King's community who same kind of thing. You like we just have really good followers and just people who are hustling and they're putting in the effort and they're taking this stuff to heart. And we want you guys to be successful. So thank you, Curtis King, for being here.
Can I salute you as well for not only building up this platform? I promise I didn't get paid for this. Not only building up this platform, but also giving a perspective that is needed, because I think that a lot of artists second guess themselves, and it takes a voice like yours that has studied law, that understands, like, no, this terminology is a little bit tricky. You end up becoming a place of comfort for a lot of artists who are made to believe that they're crazy for doing the things that they're doing or having the opinions they have about this. It gives a lot of hope out there. And I'll have a lot of people that tag me in posts. They were like, yo, y'all got to have a conversation. And I started tapping into the content. And I think it's dope because you're giving a much needed perspective that raises the eyebrows of other people that artists don't always raise the eyebrows of, because when it can affect your bottom line and it might be some legal friction, they tend to take you a lot more seriously than some guy on the internet barking from his chair. So I do salute you for what you do. You give such great information out, very thorough information. And I do believe that you represent the change that is occurring, the renaissance that is occurring. It doesn't happen with just one or two people. It has to be a collective. So just want to give you your roses and salute you for the work that you're doing on your channel, for sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.